Mommy, I fell again. Jessica turned from the kitchen sink to see her 6-year-old son, Leo, limping into the room, cradling his elbow. Dirt smudged his jeans and a scrape bloomed red on his arm. Again. That made the 4th fall this week. She dropped the dish towel and rushed over. Sweetie, what happened this time? She asked gently, crouching down. Leo shrugged, trying to look brave. I was just walking, and my foot did that weird thing again. It was like it forgot how to move. Jessica felt a flicker of concern, but she forced a smile. Maybe your shoes are too big, or you're growing so fast your feet can't keep up. She cleaned his wound and kissed his forehead, but her mind kept going back to what his preschool teacher had said just the week before. Leo seems off balance a lot lately. He's tripping more, not just during playtime, but when simply walking down the hall. Jessica had laughed it off. He's just uncoordinated like his dad. I swear Tom used to walk into door frames as a teen. But now, watching Leo eat his snack with his left hand curled oddly around his spoon, she noticed something else. Why was his grip so weak? Why did he keep tilting his head to one side? Like something was off with his vision? That night, when Tom got home, Jessica brought it up. He's not just clumsy. I think something's going on. Tom, exhausted from work, waved her off. He's 6, Jess. Kids fall. You're overthinking again. But Jessica couldn't sleep. The next morning, Jessica stood in the hallway outside Leo's room, listening. His alarm had gone off, but he hadn't stirred. When she pushed the door open, she found him still in bed, eyes open but glassy. Leo? She whispered, but he blinked slowly, then squinted like she was far away. Your alarm's been going off for 10 minutes, sweetheart. I feel funny, he mumbled. My head. It's like there's a balloon in it. Her stomach dropped. She took him to the pediatrician that afternoon. The waiting room was loud, filled with the usual chorus of sniffles and cartoons on the wall-mounted TV. Leo lay with his head in her lap, strangely quiet. The doctor, a young woman with kind eyes, gave Leo a quick exam. His reflexes are a bit sluggish on the right side, she said, frowning. And that eye drift. That's new? Jessica nodded. The doctor hesitated, then said, I think we should do a scan, probably just to rule some things out. A precaution. Jessica's hands went cold. 3 days later, the MRI results came in. Jessica and Tom sat in the sterile neurologist's office, the white light humming above them. The neurologist entered with a stack of images and a grim expression. There's a mass, he began gently, in Leo's cerebellum. That's the part of the brain that controls coordination and balance. It's about the size of a walnut. Jessica stared at him. A tumor? She croaked. Yes, he said. We won't know if it's malignant until we biopsy, but it's pressing on parts of his brain that affect his motor skills. That's likely why he's been so unsteady, and why he's been feeling off. Tom's hand gripped hers. Jessica felt the room spin. The days after the diagnosis blurred into a haze of fear, paperwork, and hurried consultations. Jessica barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the gray smudge from the MRI image. The tumor nestled in Leo's cerebellum like an intruder in a playground. Leo, for his part, was quiet but curious. Do I have a brain monster? He asked one morning, cradling his favorite stuffed dog in bed. Jessica's heart cracked open. No, sweetheart, she said, kissing his forehead. Just a little bump in your brain. The doctors are going to help. But the urgency escalated. 2 days after the MRI, Leo woke up vomiting. Not from a stomach bug, the neurologist had warned them. Increased intracranial pressure. The tumor was swelling. We need to admit him now, the neurosurgeon said on the phone. I've cleared a bed at the Children's Hospital in Boston. Pack what you need. Surgery can't wait. Jessica looked at Tom, who had just returned from work, still in his suit and tie. They didn't speak. They moved, grabbed clothes, Leo's stuffed dog, toothbrushes, Jessica's journal, everything and nothing. The hospital room was bright, with cartoon murals and soothing blue walls, but none of it could ease the lump in Jessica's throat as she watched nurses wheel Leo away for pre-op. He looked so small on the gurney, his tiny fingers waving goodbye as if he were heading to recess. The neurosurgeon, Dr. Kim, was calm but firm. We're going in through the back of his head. It's a delicate area. We'll remove as much of the mass as we safely can. Jessica nodded, clutching Tom's hand. Will he be the same?
Doktor Kim hesitated.
We hope so, but this part of the brain controls balance, motor coordination, even speech. There's always a risk. Tom asked the next question. And if it's cancer? We'll address that when the pathology report comes in. Right now, we focus on getting it out. And just like that, they were led to the surgical waiting area. The doors swung shut behind Leo. 6 hours later, Dr. Kim returned. We got most of it, he said, mask hanging around his neck. There was one area close to a major artery. We had to leave a tiny portion for safety. Jessica clung to those words, most of it. He's stable. He's waking up. The first time they saw Leo in recovery, Jessica gasped. His head was bandaged, his eyelids heavy with sedation. He looked like a wax doll, pale, still, quiet. But then, a murmur. Mommy! His voice was groggy, his words slurred. Jessica collapsed in tears beside the bed. He was still Leo. Over the next few days, Jessica witnessed something she hadn't seen since Leo was a baby. Learning all over again, he couldn't sit up on his own at first, couldn't hold a spoon properly. When he tried to speak, his words sometimes came out scrambled, as if someone had shaken up the alphabet in his brain. The doctors assured them this was normal. His brain's in shock. It needs time to heal. Still, it tore Jessica apart to watch him struggle to pick up a crayon point one night. After Tom had gone home to shower and grab a change of clothes, Jessica sat beside Leo's hospital bed. He was asleep, soft breathing, the only sound in the dim room. She looked out the window at the Boston skyline. She thought about how she had nearly brushed it off. How easy it would have been to dismiss the clumsiness. How many parents did? She pulled out her journal, flipped to a blank page and wrote, Note to future me, never ignore the little signs. They're not always just phases. Sometimes they're warnings. The hospital released Leo 2 weeks after the surgery. They wheeled him out in a red wagon. His request, while Jessica walked alongside, trying not to cry in front of the nurses, he looked fine to the casual observer. A little thin, a little tired, but Jessica saw every detail. The slight tremor in his right hand, how he needed to hold the banister with both arms just to walk up the porch steps at home. Leo's room looked exactly the same, but everything felt different at a tea night. Jessica lay awake and replayed it all. His first stumble at the zoo, the way he dropped his cereal spoon that morning in April, how she had once laughed when he bumped into a doorframe. You'll never forgive yourself if you don't keep pushing, she reminded herself. Physical therapy began the following Monday. Leo hated it at first. The large padded room with its balance balls and colorful floor mats wasn't fun to him. It was a battlefield. I can't do it, he whined as the therapist tried to get him to stand on one leg. My foot forgets what to do. Jessica sat on the bench, watching silently, heart clenched. But then came the moment. The breakthrough. A week later, Leo took 3 steps across the balance beam without falling. He looked up, shocked, as if someone else had done it. Mom, did you see? Jessica clapped so hard her hands stung. Bit by bit, he got stronger. Words returned with clarity. He could catch a ball again. And one night, when she went to check on him, he was drawing, his hand no longer shaking. But recovery didn't just mean getting better physically. There were emotional bruises too. Leo started having nightmares. One night, Jessica found him curled under the blanket, crying. The hospital monsters came back, he sobbed. They took my dog. She wrapped him in her arms and rocked him like he was a baby again. It's gone, sweetheart. The monster is gone, she whispered. But deep down, Jessica knew that wasn't entirely true. The biopsy results had come in a week after surgery. Pilocytic astrocytoma. A benign tumor, common in children, slow growing, not likely to spread. It was, in every way, the best outcome they could have hoped for. Still, the neurosurgeon had been clear. We removed almost all of it, but we'll need regular scans. There's always a chance some of it could grow back. Jessica nodded. Every 6 months? Every 3, he corrected. For now. That meant more hospital visits. More time holding Leo's hand while machines clicked and buzzed around his tiny head. One morning, 3 months post-surgery. Leo woke up and didn't want to go to school. Jessica knelt beside his bed. Why not? I don't want kids to think I'm broken, he whispered. She stared at him, stunned. Who told you that? No one. But I heard you and Daddy talking. You said my brain still needs watching. Jessica gathered him close, heart aching. Watching isn't the same as broken. You're the bravest boy I know. Your brain fought a dragon. Leo looked up, thoughtful. Like a knight. Exactly like a knight. She smiled. And knights have scars. But that just proves how strong they are. Leo returned to school the next day, wearing a superhero t-shirt and carrying a book about the brain for show and tell. When it was his turn, he stood up, legs a little wobbly but steady, and said, "This is what my brain looked like before the doctor took the bump out. It made me trip a lot. But now I can run again." Jessica watched from the back of the room, tears in her eyes, as the class clapped and one little girl offered him her apple slices. Her son had been clumsy. But now, he was something else entirely, a survivor. By autumn, life resembled something close to normal. At least on the surface. Leo's hair had mostly grown back, covering the curved scar at the back of his head. To someone who didn't know him, he looked like any other second grader. Backpack too big, shoes always untied, stories too long. But Jessica knew better. There were the small things. He still tired more easily than the other kids. His handwriting was shaky. He struggled to keep up in gym class. Sometimes, in the middle of a sentence, he'd forget a word he used to know, like microwave or yellow. Cognitive fatigue, the neurologist explained. It's common. He's making new pathways in his brain. That takes a toll. It didn't matter how good the surgery had gone. Leo would never be the exact same boy as before, and Jessica had to learn to grieve that quietly, without letting Leo see her heartbreak. Then came the day of the first follow-up MRI. It had been 3 months since the surgery, and while Leo bounced around the waiting room with a juice box and a Pokemon toy, Jessica sat stiff and cold. The nurse smiled gently. "You look like you're preparing for battle." Jessica gave a tight smile. "I am." After the scan, they waited in the sterile consultation room, Leo playing a game on Tom's phone while Jessica clenched and unclenched her fists. Dr. Kim walked in holding a tablet. "The scan looks stable," he said. "No signs of regrowth." Jessica felt her knees weaken with relief. But then he added, "That doesn't mean we let our guard down. Tumors can return slowly. We'll keep up the scans, just to be sure." Jessica nodded. She understood. Relief never lasted long. It came with caveats, footnotes, expiration dates. Back at home that evening, Tom poured her a glass of wine. "You okay?" he asked, wrapping his arms around her in the kitchen. "I don't know what okay even feels like anymore," she whispered. "I do," he said softly. "It's watching Leo build a Lego tower without toppling over. That's what okay looks like now." She smiled faintly. "I guess we redefine it every day." Still, trauma has a strange way of hiding in the quiet moments. A few weeks later, Leo tripped at the playground. He scraped his knee and laughed. But Jessica's heart pounded in her chest. She rushed over, breath tight. "Are you dizzy? Is your vision okay?" Leo gave her a puzzled look. "I just tripped, like normal kids do." And that's when it hit her. She wasn't just parenting anymore. She was monitoring, always scanning, always preparing for the worst. That night, she cried in the shower so Leo wouldn't hear. The school arranged a parent-teacher conference to discuss Leo's progress. His teacher, Ms. Patel, was warm but concerned. "He's doing well socially," she said. "But academically, he's a little behind in reading fluency and fine motor skills." Jessica nodded. "We've been working on it at home. His brain gets tired quickly." "I can tell," Ms. Patel said. "But here's the thing, he tries so hard. He never gives up. He's got grit." Grit. Jessica held on to that word like a lifeline. Then came Thanksgiving. Jessica stood in the kitchen, stirring cranberry sauce, while Leo and Tom watched the parade on TV. She looked over at her son, laughing at the giant Snoopy balloon. A year ago, she would have missed it. His clumsiness, the signs, she would have written it off as boyish energy. But now, she understood. Behind every symptom was a story, and behind every story, a truth most parents never wanted to face. That some children weren't just quirky or tired or distracted. Spring came, and with it, a fresh MRI. Now, Jessica had a ritual. She wore the same cardigan, the lucky one with the fraying sleeve, and carried mints in her purse for Leo, who hated the smell of the scan room. Tom always took off work that day, no matter what. They all walked into the hospital together like veterans of a quiet war. The scan was uneventful. Leo lay still, humming a tune under his breath while the machine pulsed and clicked. Jessica sat in the observation room with clenched hands and a forced smile. She always braced herself for bad news, because survivors, she had learned, are always looking over their shoulders at Doctor. Kim came into the room with a nod and a warm smile. Still clear, he said.
No regrot.
He's healing remarkably well. Jessica exhaled for what felt like the first time in weeks. Leo, sitting cross-legged on the exam table, beamed. Can I play soccer now? He asked. Real soccer, with goals and everything?
Doktor Kim Chocolate.
With your parents' permission, yes. Tom laughed and ruffled Leo's hair, and Jessica felt tears spring to her eyes. Not sad tears. Tears of possibility. That weekend, they signed Leo up for a local kids' league. It was recreational, low pressure, but to Jessica it felt monumental. Like stepping into a future they hadn't dared to imagine before. Leo ran clumsily during his first game, still a little lopsided, but fast. So fast. And when he made his first goal, he looked to the sidelines, found his mom's face in the crowd, and shouted, "Did you see that?" Jessica shouted back, "I saw everything." She had seen it all. The subtle signs, the first fall, the wrong guesses, the guilt, the surgery, the tubes, the tears in the night, the battle for normal. And she'd seen the part people rarely talk about, what happens after you survive. The fatigue, the endless caution, the uncertainty, the fight to rebuild something that looks like childhood. Jessica kept journals now. She wrote down every milestone, every funny thing Leo said, every symptom, real or imagined. Her therapist told her it was a way to gain control in an uncontrollable situation. It helped. It made the fear feel smaller. One night, while Jessica was writing at the kitchen table, Leo wandered in wearing superhero pajamas. He climbed onto the chair beside her. "Are you writing about me again?" "Maybe," she smiled. "What did I do today?" "You played soccer. You helped me fold laundry. And you told a joke about a chicken that made Daddy snort his coffee." Leo giggled. "I'm funny and fast now." Jessica nodded, eyes brimming. "You are so much more than you even know." He leaned against her shoulder. "Do you still worry about my brain?" Jessica hesitated. "A little, but less and less every day." "Good," he said, "because I think my brain is fine. It remembers a lot now, even the bad stuff, but I think that makes it strong." She kissed his head, her heart swelling. "Yeah, baby, that makes it strong." That night, Jessica finally slept through the night for the first time in months. No nightmares. No waking up to check if Leo was breathing. Just peace. And when morning came, she made pancakes with blueberries, Leo's favorite, and let herself feel something she hadn't in a very long time: hope. Final reflection. Some parents measure their children's lives in grades, growth spurts, and scraped knees. Jessica measured Leo's life in scans, therapy milestones, and quiet wins. But most of all, she measured it in moments. Like the first time he drew again. Like when he stopped being clumsy and started being brave. And in those moments, she discovered something she didn't know she had either: resilience. Because sometimes, the smallest signs hide the biggest battles. And sometimes, the clumsy kid isn't just uncoordinated, that he's fighting a tumor and winning.